Wir waren beide sehr erfolgreich in dem.
We were both really successful at what we did, but we weren't happy. And that's a very, very dangerous combination. Once you realize that, if you're honest with yourself, then the only logical thing is to say, okay, I'd like to try something else.
Greta and Jan Navel quit their jobs in 2021 and bought a used SUV. By May, they were on the Italian island of Sicily, working remotely for a German company. Their SUV had become both home and office.
We comfortably start the day and then get ready for work. At 9:30, we have our weekly call with the startup in Germany.
Even with the right equipment, being a digital nomad has its pitfalls.
It always sounds so easy. All we need to work is a laptop and a reliable internet connection. But unfortunately, there have been loads of places where we couldn't really connect, or ended up like we are now. Yesterday, the Wi-Fi was good, but there was a storm last night and I don't know what happened to it.
Greta and Jan used to work in management for a German car maker. The higher up the career ladder, the bigger their workload. And professional success didn't translate into satisfaction.
At our old job, there were rigid time constraints. There wasn't much room for anything else.
That led to us deciding to say goodbye to working for a big corporation and to trying something completely different.
Greta and Jan have changed their work and their lives. They've followed through with what many people would like to do. There's more work in Germany than ever before. Job vacancies are at record highs, but that doesn't immediately translate into job satisfaction. For many in Germany, work just means too much stress for a never-ending workload, for low pay and little appreciation.
You don't earn much, you work a lot, and you don't get much time off in return.
The worst is realizing you're being exploited.
Providing physiotherapy strains your body. For me, what you end up getting in return as compensation or time off isn't fair.
Worker dissatisfaction is growing. A study showed that in 2021, 25% of people were open to the idea of a new job. In 2022, that number rose to 37%. Companies who want to retain staff now need to offer more than just money.
It's a mix of money, appreciation, and opportunities for professional growth. Even for people in the simplest jobs, it's about money, sure, but it's also about recognition, appreciation, and advancement.
A lot is changing in this world of new work. There's a demand for flexible working hours. Many want to be able to work remotely instead of being forced to labor in an office. And there's a push for flat rather than top-down hierarchies.
It's becoming less about hierarchy and more about abilities. There's a new kind of collaboration that promises greater innovation and productivity. New work is ultimately a different kind of working structure.
But what would new work look like in a more traditional workplace? Trumpf is one of the world's biggest manufacturers of machine tools. Pascal Janikowicz brings a bag full of dirty shirts with him to work. He drops the laundry off at the company's on-site cleaning service before beginning his shift.
3 shirts, washed and pressed. How much?
$1.50 per shirt.
Okay.
Employees pay €1.50 for washing and ironing. A big help for the 43-year-old and his family. Pascal Janikowicz was an apprentice here 26 years ago.
The machine operator used to watch one machine. That's no longer necessary. These days, one operator looks after 2 or 3. And I have an overview of the whole factory floor.
New work in the factory. Punching, bending, lasering. Trumpf is a global leader in sheet metal processing. The family-owned German company employs around 15,000 worldwide. Since his apprenticeship, Pascal Janakowicz has continued to learn. The company has had to offer a lot to retain skilled workers like him.
I can be flexible with my working hours, for example. Once a year, we can change our hours to at least 15 hours a week or a maximum of 40.
Being able to change his schedule depending on his needs has been a huge help.
During the pandemic, my daughter was homeschooling. She was always at home. Someone else had to be there. She's only 12, so we didn't want to leave her alone all day.
Family is important to him. He hates to think how the pandemic would have been without his employer's flexibility.
It really makes things easier. My wife works too, not full-time, but about 80%. It was handy to be able to coordinate and have that flexibility. A lot of our friends didn't have that, and things were much harder for them.
Oliver Maassen is the company's chief human resources officer. For him, good conditions are one thing, but new work can be a loaded term.
When I hear it, it makes the hairs on the back of my neck stand up. For me, new work is something being hyped by consultants who are looking to sell something, and by companies that want to appear better than they might actually be.
What some call new work is nothing new for Maassen. He's always felt that satisfied employees are the best employees for the company.
Flex time might suddenly be a buzzword, but Trumpf has had flexible schedules for 15 years. We have a gym on the roof. I can get my laundry done here, and other things that I'd otherwise have to take care of differently.
Like shopping and cooking, employees can even get food for their families in the plant's cafeteria.
A schnitzel with potato salad to go, please.
The takeout food costs between 2 and 5 euros and can make life easier.
I'm getting my daughter's food for tonight because the school lunch today isn't so great. It just saves time.
And it helps Pascal focus on his job.
I enjoy the working atmosphere here. Sure, we have team leaders, but you interact with them as an equal. The employees have a lot of say.
The top-down authoritarian model is no more. Everyone benefits from each other's expertise. Team leaders give information about the current production status, but anyone on the team can raise issues. This equality is important to many job seekers. 85% of survey respondents think work-life balance and the ability to schedule their hours is important. Flexible working hours were a factor to 79%. And for 73%, the starting salary was also key. Perks like the on-site basketball court and free gym also play a role in keeping staff. Employee representative Renate Luxe calls it a competitive advantage in the battle for skilled workers.
We're surrounded by companies like Porsche, Daimler, and Bosch. All the more reason for us to lead as the most attractive employer.
As well as pay, flexible working hours, and fitness facilities, Trumpf also offers employees help in difficult times.
Supporting employees in other ways is a part of promoting a family-work balance and part of this new working world in general. We advise people who have financial problems. We have a company doctor who has a great professional network. And we give support when people have relatives who require care.
This isn't simply charity, it's a business strategy.
The time we put into supporting the employee is time they can then spend performing well for the company.
At the end of the day, it's a give and take. Pascal ends his workday with 2 hours of overtime, which he can claim back as leave when he needs it.
Sometimes I can take a longer vacation with the overtime hours. It depends. Or I don't take the whole day off, but I work shorter hours, like starting my weekend early on Fridays.
After 26 years, he feels connected to his employer. That's certainly not the case everywhere in Germany. In a 2020 survey, only 17% of respondents said they were emotionally attached to their employer. 83% felt none at all.
New work is like digitalization. Everyone talks about it without having a clue what it really means.
Ali Maloji is a 41-year-old entrepreneur from Vienna. He's tested out nearly every facet of the new work model. His start in the business world was far from smooth.
School was terrible for me. It was just pressure. I was there because I had to be. I had to learn things without anyone telling me why I'd ever have to know them. It was meaningless.
After dropping out of high school, his future was bleak. But Maloji was determined to succeed. He worked, later completing high school, and then going to college at night. His career took off.
I was IT manager in a really big US corporation. At 27, I was the youngest person in the role in Europe. Great company car, stock options, good salary. I always wore a black suit and red tie. I thought I'd made it. Then my father died suddenly, and the last thing we had done was argue.
The sudden loss of his father, coupled with the daily stress of being an IT manager, was overwhelming.
I had a clear case of burnout. I suddenly recognized the futility of my job. I was incredibly lonely, and I swore to myself that I would work somewhere where people didn't have to apologize for not being able to handle external pressures.
Maloji saw a therapist and began working as a teacher. He noticed that a lot of young people don't know what to do after school. He founded an internet platform focused on careers. It was so successful that he was appointed EU ambassador for youth. New work means completely rethinking the system.
What we usually talk about with new work are just the symptoms, the things we see. But it starts with an attitude that says, we don't need to work the way we've been working up to now. When it comes to innovation, for example, I, as a 40-year-old, might learn more about digital innovation from a 16-year-old than they would from me.
He says today's employers need to understand that they have to compete for employees, not the other way around.
It's not about having a cool foosball table and saying that your company is like a startup. We're talking about issues like equality in the organization, appreciating workers, aligning work schedules with the realities of life, helping people develop, coaching them in uncertain times.
Employers and supervisors need opportunities for change, but we all do.
I advise everyone to develop a respect for the course of their lives. If weeks and months go by when we're unhappy, and we look out the window every day wishing we were somewhere else, and if things don't improve, then we owe it to ourselves to admit that this might be the wrong place. Then we should move on.
And that's exactly what Greta and Jan Navel have done, living and working as digital nomads. As they prepare to go for a drive, they get an email from their employer.
Dominic sent me an email.
Yes, to me too.
Can they quickly get feedback on the presentation?
They want our comments right away.
Let's drive to this town about 15 minutes away and see if we can get a coffee. Then we can sit down and take a quick look.
Good idea.
Greta and Jan do what's known as trust-based working hours, around 15 hours a week. Their employer is a management consultancy in Germany. They decide when to work, but if they get assigned something, they start looking for a place with internet. Today, their office is this café.
That's what we had on our phones too, right? And that's the link.
They're supposed to edit a presentation. The couple's employers are Sarah and Dominik Lutz, based about 2,000 kilometers away in Landau in western Germany. They run a consultancy that helps companies adapt to digital working methods. They have regular video calls with Greta and Jan.
Great. Unless you have more questions, we can start. Do you have any special detours planned, or will you head straight back?
We're going to Mount Etna. It was on our wish list for Sicily.
Fingers crossed you get there safe and sound and have good weather.
Maintaining a regular job while traveling. For Greta and Jan, there's a constant switching between leisure and work.
It's comparable to the project work we did back at the large corporation. You went from meeting to meeting and from topic to topic. It's like that here, except you switch between your private and your business life.
The job is done. Now they can get back to their original plan for the day, climbing Mount Etna.
Greta und ich haben uns vor
4.5 years ago, Greta and I got engaged on Kilimanjaro. And we thought, since we're in Sicily, it'd be a shame to miss out on Europe's highest active volcano. So never mind the weather. We're going up there now.
We're nearly at Mount Etna and it's really starting to rain. It's crazy. You think you're going to Sicily to get sun and beaches, and we're here in this downpour.
Even though it's May, the weather refuses to follow the southern Italian stereotype. The rain pours down at the cable car station at the foot of the mountain. And when they arrive at the top, there's another surprise.
It's snowing.
Snow in Sicily.
Crazy.
There isn't much of a view today, but the pair still has plenty of excitement on the horizon.
There's so much to look forward to. Croatia, Albania, Greece.
Yeah.
Countries where we'll get a bit of sunshine.
We'll pay the sun a visit.
Yeah.
But the sun is shining on their employers in Western Germany. This is where Sarah and Dominik Lutz run their startup, also from their home. All meetings are held remotely.
Collaborating remotely with Greta and Jan works. Even when we say we'd like something back by a certain time, they let us know right away whether they can do it or not.
The company's founders also used to work as project managers. They too went looking for a new type of career.
Dominik and I both have long corporate careers behind us. We just didn't feel comfortable in that environment anymore. Decision-making processes took a long time because those sorts of corporations are very political.
Not only that, their old jobs required shifting locations and different working hours. That's no longer the case.
Matching your personal with your professional life is important to us. We're more than just consultants and business owners. We have personal lives. I'm a father.
But the advantages of working from home, like flexibility and the comfort of being in their own space, also come with risks.
Of course, it's not always easy to separate leisure and work. You can't let work become an obsession. The danger is that everything is just a short distance away, so instead of heading to the couch to rest a bit, you could find yourself back at the desk.
That's a common experience for many people who work from home. Nathalie Obertür is a labor law expert. Switching between home and work means extra flexibility, but there are still laws to consider.
All the remote work during the pandemic has led to an expectation of work-life blending. You might work for an hour, then take a lunch break, then do another hour's work, and then an hour of childcare. In terms of labor law, it's not easy. There are standards for working hours and breaks. For example, the daily maximum working time of 8 hours with 11 hours of rest.
In 2019, just under 13% of the workforce worked from home. In 2021, that number was 25%. And more than half, 56%, would like a permanent entitlement to remote work.
Even if there were a legal right to remote work, it wouldn't extend to every job. There are jobs that can't be done at home, like nurse, salesperson, or hairdresser. We're going to have to accept that there are differences in people's ability to work remotely.
Bakeries are among the businesses offering little chance of remote work. They need workers in the kitchen and selling to customers. But even so, at this family-run bakery in the Kraichgau region of southwest Germany, change is in the air. To keep his great-grandfather's business alive, owner Stefan Leonhardt had to make big changes.
So folks, let's start the power briefing. A few important things to note. Raphael, you're the boss of the day today. How's it looking?
We have enough dough for now, but we'll have to get busy soon.
Master baker Raphael Speck is in charge today. Instead of a manager delegating tasks, things are organized during the team meeting. Everyone has their role.
We got another order. 25 party rolls for Saturday. Can you guys handle that?
No more orders then. Otherwise we'll struggle.
This is how new work functions in a craft business like the bakery. The power briefing clarifies what needs to be made and when. Everyone's on equal footing. That makes Raphael Speck appreciate his workplace.
It doesn't matter whether you're an apprentice or a master baker. We try to keep everything on the same level. Everyone is addressed equally.
The bakery's recent success is a small miracle. Stefan Leonhardt took it over from his parents in 2009, and then he almost went out of business.
It's pretty much my own fault for not having a plan back then about how to take things forward.
Old recipes and traditional baking methods left him in the red. That was the first problem.
We looked at what we offered, analyzed all the products, and asked, are they worth making? Have we done the math right?
The answer was no. Stefan Leonhardt then took advanced training in French baking. Today he offers sea salt focaccia and French specialties. These new products bring in more customers and more sales than standard bread products.
It led to getting noticed in the industry. People were saying, look, he's trained in French baking. He's become a bread sommelier. He's remodeling his bakery. You can watch him work. It was word of mouth. That was really great.
Leonhardt wants an even bigger profile. That's why he regularly organizes photo shoots for Instagram. Max Herzog does social media for the bakery. He's been looking after its channel for 2 years.
Social media helps many more people see what's happening here, like the fact that things are handmade, that it's a craft bakery. That just leads to much more appreciation. A big problem for craft industries is that, unfortunately, they're underappreciated.
Getting back in the black helped Leonhardt solve the second problem, poor pay. He had previously only been able to pay between 9 and 11 euros per hour.
We're well beyond that now. Today we start in sales at 12 or 12.50. In the bakery it's 13.50 or 14, depending on qualifications.
That leaves the third problem, staff shortages due to unfavorable working hours for bakers. Leonhardt tackled that one together with his wife, Stephanie. She revolutionized working hours.
Done?
Done, yes.
Great. I've put together the staff's requested timetables. Let's have a look.
Stephanie Leonhardt introduced a 4-day work week. The business is closed on Monday and Tuesday afternoons. There are flexible weekly hours, and staff can ask to work shifts that suit them. This makes employees happy, but it also complicates planning.
Quite a few have blocked off the weekend. Then 4 people are on vacation from Sunday and 3 before that. It's going to be really tight.
Unfortunately, the system doesn't always work.
You never get 100% satisfaction. Even with all the back and forth and the balancing we try to do, we can't meet everyone's wishes. What's perfect for one person might mean that another person has a shift when they'd rather not have one. Sometimes you just have to make a decision, which can make you unpopular. That's life when you're the boss.
But the effort is worth it. Heiko Larik has worked as a baker for 26 years, getting up around 3 a.m. almost every day. At the Leonhardt Bakery, he can start later.
It's a big advantage. I have more free time because I can stay awake longer in the evenings. It means a lot when you've been having to go to bed at 8 or 7 every night. Since I've been working here, I've been blossoming. In my line of work, it's really a kind of rebirth.
Neugeburt quasi, in meinem Beruf.
Flexible working hours, social media, less hierarchy. There's a lot that's new in this traditional business. And Leonhardt thinks there are more changes to come.
New work is still a process here. No one knows where it'll take us next. I'm always having to test the limits. You never know.
So far, new work is a big promise that hasn't materialized for many workers.
Oliver Suchi represents the German Trade Union Confederation. Here at Hamburg's Museum of Work, he's looking back at the hard struggle for shorter working hours and better working conditions. Running rotary print presses like these, for example, was tough and dirty. Printers used to say that working for a newspaper would shorten your life.
Sure, working conditions were physically harder back then, in terms of dirt, dust, and so on. That's why occupational health and safety laws came in, and why management and labor came up with regulations. But I wouldn't say it's less stressful today.
In the mid-19th century, working up to 80 hours a week was considered normal. At the turn of the century, the 6-day week was introduced, with a 10-hour day. In 1918, the 8-hour day became the norm. Workers lived to the rhythm of their shifts. Precise records were kept of when and how long they worked.
The punch clock from the factory or the office, that's history. But the modern version of that time clock just looks different. The clock's no longer needed, but really it hasn't changed. It just looks different.
Today, working hours are shorter and workplaces are safer, but many workers still aren't doing well.
Physical stress hasn't decreased in the last 20 years. It's consistently high, depending on the industry. What's really worrying is the addition of mental illness caused by work. That's because the pressure and tension is so high in these jobs, whether it's office work or nursing.
The stress pushes many to their limits, and even beyond. In 2020, 35% of surveyed workers experienced burnout. In 2021, the figure was even higher, 38%. Something has to change. New work could be the blueprint for more productivity and satisfaction.
There are other factors besides pay, like development opportunities and stress factors. It's about how to navigate those things in a way that leads to worker satisfaction.
Remote work is a cornerstone of the new work model, but it still needs to be regulated.
We already know that during the pandemic, there were nearly 900 million hours of unpaid overtime. A lot of that was people working from home. You can arrange your work how you want to, but that kind of complete flexibilization isn't healthy.
On their own, arrangements for flexible working hours aren't enough.
Do we need new work? At the end of the day, it's about prosperity, productivity, and innovation. For that, we need minds that are fresh, rested, and tuned in. We still have a long ways to go.
Greta and Jan Navel are now back from Sicily, and they've brought the rain with them. They're at Greta's parents' house near the Dutch border and are preparing their mobile office for the next big adventure. Next stop, Southeastern Europe.
The water tank is just one upgrade we've done here in Germany. We'll have an additional 25 liters of water to use on board.
The more than 3 months living and working on the road taught them what they missed from home.
This is great. The water's already warm, and there's good pressure. This is going to be good, because as a woman with long hair, washing it while you're on the road isn't always easy.
Smooth day-to-day life is essential if they're going to work from their specially adapted SUV. After all, they're business consultants working 2 days a week, no matter where they are.
We've got sand ladders to put under the tires if we get stuck somewhere. There's a roof box we made ourselves with a solar panel on top. We can use that to charge the SUV's battery, as long as it's sunny.
Their living space amounts to just under 8 square meters. Everything they need to live and work is on board and precisely accounted for, even down to the cutlery.
2 forks, 2 spoons, 2 knives, 2 small spoons, that's it.
In his workshop, Greta's father is making a final part for the vehicle. The retiree has helped Greta and Jan convert the SUV. His daughter's decision to quit her secure job and work in a radically different way caught him off guard.
It was a surprise. But she's living the kind of life we dreamed of at the same age, which we just couldn't make a reality for professional or personal reasons.
Greta's father was self-employed. His weeks often involved long working hours and too little time with his family.
I'm a bit older now, and when you look back, you ask yourself, did you do everything right? Or could you have taken advantage of the opportunities that the children are now taking advantage of?
And
they're doing it right.
Greta and Jan also think they've made the right choice. Full-time work, responsibility, career, these things didn't make them happy. They're glad to be trying something new.
The car is 99% done. We'll make some final handholds in the workshop over the next couple days. When those parts are on the vehicle, we'll be ready to go.
The world of work is also changing for hotel manager Annemarie. As of a few weeks ago, she's been working 4 days a week instead of 5, and she still gets paid the same amount.
It's really nice to start the free day as a couple. Having that time off just makes for a better start to the day.
Annemarie's extra day off means she can spend more quality time with her boyfriend.
I'm a self-employed roofer. Normally I have to be out of the house by 7:30, but when she has the day off, we can have a nice breakfast together.
One fewer day at the hotel has other advantages for the 23-year-old.
It's so much better not having to travel to Cologne that extra day. It cuts down on travel time, which I find helps me put more energy into the days when I do work.
Julian Marx supported his girlfriend's decision.
When she told me she had the opportunity to work 4 days, I said, "You have to do it." She was actually a little skeptical at first. I like it. I'd do it too if I could.
Annemarie works here at the 25 Hours Hotel in Cologne. The company that runs the hotel recently introduced the 4-day work week.
Housekeeping.
Annemarie manages the housekeeping department. Today, she's training a new colleague.
Great. And here with the pillows, we can check that the corners are out. The decorative pillow in the middle, and then the little robot. Then check again that everything's clean and smooth it down again.
Annemarie's been working at the hotel for 4 years. She doesn't just get an extra day off. She now has to work an extra hour the other days she works.
Our shift times have changed since the 4-day week was introduced. We now work 9 hours with a 45-minute break. Of course, it's a bit harder because you're here longer. The longer hours are sometimes exhausting. Sometimes just 8 hours is demanding, and now it's 9. You just have to get used to it.
The hotel group has around 700 employees in Germany. Tim Meckelholt is the personnel coordinator in Cologne. The new working model is his responsibility.
The crucial point was the shortage of skilled workers. Partly because of the pandemic, we noticed a real lack of trained personnel. As a company, we knew we had to do something, including when it came to working hours. The 4-day week is already in other industries and other areas. Why not in the hotel and restaurant business too?
Staff now get 3 days off a week, even in the kitchen. Felix Fonseca is a junior chef. The 26-year-old has yet to find a drawback.
It's a very, very big luxury, especially in the restaurant industry. The shifts haven't gotten harder in themselves, so from that point of view, it's all positive. I'm very glad with the extra day off during the week. I'd recommend it to anyone who gets offered it.
Ich würde es jedem empfehlen, der das Angebot bekommt.
But it does mean that the hotel needs more staff than before. That's an extra cost.
It's logical that we need more staff because there's one day missing, so to speak. And unfortunately, in 3 departments, we aren't yet able to offer a 4-day week because we simply don't have enough people.
But the 4-day model is up and running in 5 of the hotel's 8 departments anyway. Department heads are sharing feedback.
Scheduling is of course a bit more difficult. We have to take into account requests for time off, and of course the events and functions at the hotel.
With more challenging scheduling and higher staffing costs, the 4-day workweek is a challenge for the company.
Of course, a model like this will create some initial costs. We knew from the start it would be something we'd have to invest in.
Under the old model, Annemarie Breuer would be done for the day. Today, she's using the extra hour to work on her department's schedules.
You do notice that you're a bit tired in the afternoon. There's this 1 o'clock slump, where normally with a 5-day week you'd be finished. You think, isn't it time for another coffee or some fresh air? You notice that you're here for longer than before.
Here in Berlin, the Futuria Museum helps answer the question of how we'll live in the future. Researcher Daniel Dettling is studying the future of work.
The old working world was monotonous and male-dominated. Now we're already in a new working world, which is more varied, more diverse, in some ways also more radical, and above all, more female. For reasons that include demographics, we need more women in jobs and in management positions, and this change needs to be accelerated.
Dettling sees an especially big change in what today's workers consider important.
It's less about money and career. Ultimately, the big issue is time. Models of working hours and flexibility with time. I think we have to be even more radical in how we think from the point of view of employees. The big topic is having control over one's time. That's something German companies haven't yet prepared for.
He believes that when and how much we work will need complete rethinking in the future.
Children born today have a life expectancy of at least 85 to 90 years. Why should they retire in their mid-60s? An issue that's becoming more important is the redistribution of working time across our lifetimes. Like having more time away from work between 20 and 30, then in return working more between 50 and 70. This is where I see the next revolution, and I think it'll come in the next 5 or 6 years.
Greta and Jan have already decided to work less. Before their big trip, they do a final test drive to the Netherlands. Their idea of the future of work is being mobile, working where and when they want. They have exchanged the security they once had with freedom.
I had a job that was secure and well paid for a really great, socially minded and generous employer. First, what I've gained by giving that up is to work for a startup. It's a very different kind of work, and I'm learning a lot about it. So that's one thing. But then it also offers me a flexible form of work. And thirdly, of course, there's the travel, exploring the world. Not just seeing it on vacation the way we used to with our old jobs, but every day. Those are the three things I got when I traded in the old job.
Despite the excitement about what lies ahead, Jan doesn't take this new way of life lightly.
No one knows what the future holds, and we're not immune to those feelings of uncertainty. But in the end, we very consciously decided to do things this way. And right now, at least, we can say it was the correct decision.